Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to teach you what UX UI design is, as well as what exactly the differences are between UX and UI design. Stay tuned to the end of this video where I'll be sharing my favorite free resources to help you get started learning UX UI design. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up as that really helps my channel grow, especially in these baby stages. And if you're interested in more videos to help you land a job in UX UI design, hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon because I'll be posting new videos here every week. Hi, I'm Erin Kate. I'm a UX UI designer based here in Denver, Colorado. A little bit over a year ago, I had never even heard of the terms UX or UI design. I was a yoga and Pilates instructor who also ran my own online social media agency. I was so exhausted from trying to find new clients and make ends meet. I wanted my studio to be a haven, not a hustle. I was desperate to find a high-paying job that wouldn't require me to go back to college to get my bachelor's degree. I had dropped out of college my sophomore year, and I just knew that I did not want to go back. College simply wasn't for me. At first, a career in software development really caught my eye. It was high-paying, there was a lot of opportunities to work remotely, and it just sounded awesome. I have a friend who's actually in software development, and I called him up to grab a coffee. Shortly into our conversation, he told me that I should look into UX design. He knew me pretty well and he knew that I was more inclined towards creative pursuits, so he thought that would be a really good route for me to go and begin researching. Well, I went home, I took to my laptop, and I began researching. Less than a week later, I was enrolled in my UX design bootcamp. Fast forward to a year later, and I'm working as a UX UI designer for Fortune 500 companies, making a really nice salary, working 100% remotely from home, and loving what I do. The first step in my career transition was understanding what exactly UX UI design even is. My friend had given me a basic run-through of UX design, but I needed to more fully understand what it is and would I even enjoy it. After doing my research and plenty of trying it out for myself, my resounding answer was yes. Now, I want to help others who are interested in becoming UX UI designers understand what it really takes and give them practical tips and tricks to get there. Let's dive in. Number one, what is UX UI design? The first thing to unpack here is that UX and UI design are actually technically two different fields of design, but within companies and job roles, they're often merged into one. UX stands for user experience design. If you've heard terms like personas, user stories, prototyping, wireframes, and user research, they're often referring to UX design. UX designers are problem solvers. They spend a lot of time understanding the user and their needs, desires, frustrations, and then designing solutions to those problems. UX designers focus on designing the most intuitive and helpful experiences for the user in their interaction with the product that they're using. UX design can be found in many aspects of real life. From the dials and buttons that you interact with on your camera or your laptop to take a picture or send an email, to actually the process of boiling a pot of water for tea. Digitally speaking, UX design can look like your interactions with the screen on the elliptical at the gym to the checkout page of an e-com store. Depending on the company, a UX designer can be responsible for anything from email lead generation to booking an Airbnb or a homestay. For some designers, the job role of UX design can mean handling the whole entire design process from the conception and initial stages of research all the way through design, prototyping, and launch of a product. And this just really depends on the job role and the company that you're working for. Oftentimes in the interview process, you will want to ask those questions so that you have a more holistic understanding of what your duties will be as a UX designer. If you're already feeling a little bit confused, don't worry. In simple terms, a UX designer designs the blueprint for a product. Here's an example. Now, I'm going to open up the Spotify app on my phone, and I'll show it to you guys here on the screen. Now, when a user wants to search a song within the Spotify app, there's a bottom menu nav bar here that has 3 different icons. Search is in the middle, and it's clearly labeled with its icon and the term search. So when I press search, it will take me to a page labeled search up at the top, and it kind of gives me a push in the right direction by saying artists, podcasts, and music. So I can type in and search for what I need there. Now, something about this bottom nav bar is that it's always consistent. So it doesn't move around even if I'm on a song page or a podcast page or the home page of the app. It's the UX designer that maps that out. So it's the UX designer who lays that blueprint of that bottom nav bar or that lower menu and says what's going to be on it. So what 3 tabs are going to be on it. Now that can vary. There can be 5. There's often 3 to 5. And then they also lay out if that's ever going to be hidden. So when I went to my song that I had chosen, that bottom nav bar didn't disappear, so it stays consistent throughout the app. And that's decisions that the UX designer will be making. Another example, you're having an issue remembering your login for a social media app on your phone. A UX designer is tasked with creating that flow, so that user flow, to guide you through the process of resetting the password for your app. The responsibilities of a UX designer can include researching and understanding a user's needs, and then defining, prototyping, and testing the solutions to those needs. Now we'll move on to UI design. UI stands for user interface. When you hear terms like iconography, typography, hex codes, visual hierarchy, and layout optimization, those terms are likely relating to user interface design. UI designers are artists, but not the abstract type. They're logical thinkers with really good taste. Their job is to take the elements that a UX designer has chosen and define what exactly those elements look like, including typography, iconography, colors, shadows, etc. They will also determine how these elements are interacted with, like hover and focus states, and ensure accessibility and visual hierarchy through proper sizing, spacing, and layout. UI designers may also choose imagery and scroll features. They'll be the ones designing for scalability so that the product will load properly across many different screens and device sizes. For instance, a UI designer will consider in their designs how a product might shift from desktop to mobile to tablet size. Let's take a look at another example for help. An email onboarding flow, also called a sequence, is the series of emails you'll receive when you first subscribe to, say, an online clothing store. The first email you receive may be a welcome email, the second a 10% off offer, and the third a perfect picks for you. In a flow such as this, it's the UX designer who will design the experience, which is the flow and the layout of those onboarding emails and the elements that are necessary to make those emails happen, such as what buttons need to exist in order to actually claim that 10% off offer. Meanwhile, the UI designer will design the visuals of that flow. The UI designer would choose the color of the button to receive the 10% offer, the shape of the button, the shadows behind the button, if there are any. So in essence, the UI designer is the one that's going to be designing what it actually looks like, not necessarily the experience, but the look. User interface design can often be undervalued as just the skin of a product. But when you begin to study good UI, it's very clear that good UI is very necessary for a product's success. Without the skin, the body would fall apart. To sum up the responsibilities of a user interface designer, a UI designer deals primarily with the visual layout and design of a product and the functions of the design elements. They could handle everything from icons, colors, fonts, and images, to interactions, visual hierarchy, accessibility, and high-fidelity prototypes. It is worth noting that, as I just mentioned, things like high-fidelity prototypes can fall into both UX and UI design job roles. That's because UX and UI design are often meshed together, and thus their responsibilities can often overlap. But we'll talk about that more in a bit. This covers the basics of UX and UI design and also how they differ. Do you have any more questions about these topics? Drop them in the comment section below so that I can dive deeper and help to answer your questions. Okay, now that you have the foundational textbook descriptions of UX and UI design, I'm going to help explain them even further so that you can have a more holistic understanding with some real-life examples. Let's take a look at UX UI design using the process of building a custom home. This is an example that really helps me, as building a home is such a visual and tangible process. I find that real-life UX UI examples can help bring a groundedness to design concepts that can often be a bit vague or conceptual. Designing a house takes thought, planning, and understanding, aka user research, for the future inhabitants of the house. A house built for an older couple who collects books and knickknacks may have a library with shelves and little cozy nooks, a shower that has room in it for a seat, And they may even require a single level home so they don't have to climb stairs, or an elevator in a multi-level home. A younger family with 2.5 children and a golden doodle may need a fenced yard for safety, a deep farmhouse sink for all the dirty dishes, and an open concept layout so that mom doesn't always have to yell across the house to get the kids' attention. So in these two very different scenarios, you can see UX design concepts at play. UX design is about the layout, the blueprint, the foundations of those homes that are being designed. UX design considers the layout and sequence of events that a user may need, even if the user doesn't realize it yet. Kids' muddy boots can be kicked off in the mud hall that leads to the kitchen for an after-school snack, where then the dirty dishes can be deposited in the deep farmhouse sink. UX design investigates the questions. Who is this product being built for? How will they use it? In what sequence will they use it? Where could things possibly go wrong? And how could things possibly go perfectly? Getting to know the owner leads to the design of the floor plan, to the framing of the home, to the electrical wiring and the plumbing, and so on and so forth. In this way, UX design user research leads to user stories, to wireframes, to mock-ups and prototypes. Amidst all of these design processes is user testing, like when a couple on HGTV gets to come do a walkthrough in their home while it's still being created and critique it. Still following? Okay. So now that we've done our research on who the house is being built for, what they need, and how they're going to use it, it's time to make the house not only aesthetically pleasing, but also logical, efficient, and accessible. This is where user interface design comes in. UI design will dictate the colors of the paint, the tile patterns, and even that sign over the door that says #blessed. But like I said, UI design isn't just about the aesthetics. Busy mom of two loves her granite countertops, but not just because they look nice. She loves that they're tough and won't dent or stain like wood. She loves her plush upstairs carpets, but not just because they're plush, but because they're gonna muffle the sound of a box of Legos being poured out at 7 a.m. UI design is logical, and it plays off of the research done in the UX design process. Where is the microwave placed? What kind of stovetop is best for the user? Do the lights have a dimmer? UX design is the blueprint and the feel of the house. Remember, it's that experience, so it's more of a sensation, a feel. UI design is the visuals and the interactions within the house. Okay, so before I move into sharing my favorite free ways to get started in UX UI design, I want to take a minute to touch really quick on why UX and UI design are so often merged together. I feel like this is an important topic to explore as it can cause a lot of confusion for people that are looking to transition into this career field. It was one of the first things I noticed when I was looking at changing my career. In particular, I noticed that many job postings were for UX-UI designers. The roles and responsibilities of UX and UI designers can often overlap. This is because the world of UX and UI design, digitally speaking, is fairly new. Also, many companies want bang for the buck, so if they can hire one person to do two roles, then why not? It's very similar to if you wanted a website built, you'd be more inclined to hire someone that can do the visual design as well as the front-end coding, instead of hiring two separate people to do those two separate jobs. It's simply more practical and economical. If you are only interested in one or the other, so UX or UI, there are companies that will hire for those individual roles. From my research and scouring of job boards, I've noticed that it seems to be larger companies that will do that. In your job searches, those roles will be listed as either user experience designer or user interface designer, and they're often spelled out, so they're not shortened to UX or UI. I will warn you though, a UI designer, so a user interface designer, job by itself often does not pay as high as the combined role of UX UI designer or just as the role of UX designer pays. And it is worth noting that no matter the official job title, a good UX designer will have a really good grasp and practice of beautiful and efficient UI, as well as vice versa. Okay, so the best way to learn if UX UI design is right for you is obviously to get your hands in it and give it a try. I've listed some great free resources in the description box below, so let's go ahead and review. Number one is YouTube. So YouTube is obviously a great place to go for free resources and educational videos, but it's also a really great place to discover insights from real designers, like me. The second free resource I want to bring up possibly my favorite, was surprisingly helpful in helping me in my journey as a UX UI designer. Even though it didn't take me very long to decide I wanted to invest in a boot camp, it was also very helpful for me to get a bit of a taste of what the process and what the work of doing a boot camp and being in a boot camp would look like. So I find this to be one that you should definitely check out because it's super free and super easy. When I began researching how to become a UX designer, it became very clear to me that there was basically two paths to take. One was that you could do solo study and so learn on your own at your own pace, and the other was to enroll in a boot camp. I decided to go the design boot camp route. When I was researching the different boot camps, so the different design schools online, I found that many of these design boot camp sites offered free mini courses. What this process looks like: essentially you enter your email in to sign up for a free mini course, and then daily that design school will send you a little tutorial or tidbit of information. Usually it's a tutorial so that you can begin getting a more holistic understanding and even getting some hands-on experience of what UX or UI design requires. They're often called Intro to UX or Intro to UI mini courses, but as I said, I did drop them in the description box below for you. These courses also helped me decide which boot camp I wanted to invest in. Resource number 3 is Udemy, and I'm gonna go ahead and put Skillshare in with that. So Skillshare and Udemy are very similar to YouTube in that they are a great place to go for educational videos. Unlike YouTube, however, they are more structured in their layout and more organized, which I just find really helpful when it comes to learning. These resources are not technically free, but they do offer free trial windows, which I think on average are about 2 weeks long. And I find that to be a good amount of time to get a feel for UX UI design and if you're gonna like it. After the trial window expires, the classes are pretty inexpensive. The first course I actually ever took, even before my boot camp on UX design, was actually an intro to UX design on Udemy using the software Adobe XD, and it was only, I think, a $14 investment, and it was totally worth it. The last free resource I'm going to share with you guys is by far my favorite, so I'm saving the best for last. It's Figma, and it's amazing. Figma is a design software that's actually browser-based. What that means is that you don't have to download a big software file to your computer, which for some people, depending on their computer, can mean massively slowing down your computer across all platforms. It is completely free to create an account on Figma and begin designing. Within Figma, you can do anything from whiteboarding to wireframing to prototyping. It's even an awesome design tool for illustrating and graphic design. So the sky is really the limit for new designers to practice and gain some hands-on experience. And a Figma tip for new users, definitely utilize their design community. So within Figma, there's a community where people post free resources. For instance, you can search UI kit for food app and download copies of other designers' files to play around in and gain a deeper understanding of the structure and setup of design files. And lastly, many companies utilize Figma already within their design teams, or they're moving into Figma. So I recommend it as a highly valuable design tool for any new designer to begin mastering, because having Figma experience will never serve you poorly in the job application process. It is definitely an invaluable skill to have in your new career. All right, so that sums up my video on UX UI design, as well as my overview of my favorite free resources. If you thought this video was valuable, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting new videos here every week to help aspiring UX UI designers land their first jobs, and would love feedback on what topics and videos you all would find most beneficial. Be sure to check out my next video, UX UI Design, How to Think Like a Professional Designer. It'll help you ace those portfolios and job interviews. You can find the link for that in the description box below. Thanks for watching. See you soon.